Welcome to The Explainer. Let's dive right into the absolutely chaotic Round 24 clash between the Newcastle Knights and the Gold Coast Titans. We're looking at a match today that perfectly highlights exactly why sports are played on real grass and, well, not on spreadsheets.
But right before we get into the breakdown, I want you to ask yourself a question. Think about all the advanced analytics we have today. Can data and betting models ever really accurately predict the wild, totally unpredictable momentum swings of rugby league? Just keep that in the back of your mind as we go through this.
Here is what we're going to cover today. We'll look at the high stakes in round 24, those confident pregame predictions, the actual reality of the high-scoring shootout, Kalen Ponga's massive star power, and finally, what this all means for Newcastle's finals hopes.
All right, kicking things off with Section 1, high stakes in round 24.
So, the stakes heading into this matchup? Absolutely massive. On one side, you had the Knights riding this incredible wave of momentum. They were coming off 2 straight wins, including that dominant 36 victory over the Broncos, and they were fighting not just to stay in the top 8, but to literally lock in a coveted home final in the Hunter. On the flip side, you've got the Titans. They were desperate to avoid a late-season collapse after some really heavy defeats to the Warriors and Cowboys. And looking at recent form, the Knights were averaging 44.8 total match points in their last 10, while the Titans sat right at 49.6.
Moving right along to Section 2, the pregame predictions.
What's really fascinating here is how the data scientists and the seasoned pundits were, well, they were totally aligned. Predictive models like Dimers gave the Knights a dominant 79.1% win probability. Meanwhile, expert pundits at Cruzy were adamant that the Knights would grind out a narrow victory by around 6 points, fully expecting the Titans to comfortably cover that massive 12.5-point spread. And the total points? Both models firmly pointed to a low-scoring affair, comfortably under the 50.5-point line.
I mean, Ben Harris over at Cruzy literally went on the record saying, the under is the quietest bet here, and probably the safest. The consensus was basically that Newcastle wins their games narrow, relying on pressure and field position rather than explosive scoreboard bursts. It was supposed to be a tight, gritty arm wrestle. Which brings us to Section 3, reality, a high-scoring shootout. So, here's the reality check. Instead of that boring field position grind everyone promised us, fans at McDonald Jones Stadium were treated to an absolute track meet, a wild 62-point shootout that completely blew those safe under 50 predictions out of the water. The Knights ultimately walked away with a 36-26 victory.
Just look at these momentum swings. It really proves you can never count out the chaos of live footy. By the 18th minute, the Knights had already jumped to a 16-0 lead, sparked by an early Dane Gagai double. You gotta imagine the experts were sweating at that point. But, true to form, the Titans fought back hard, tightening the score to 16-10 right before halftime. Fast forward to the 76th minute, and the Knights had completely blown the game open again, stretching their lead to 36-14 by just ruthlessly punishing Titans' errors. Gold Coast did grab a couple of late consolation tries in the dying minutes to make it 36-26, but man, it just proves you can't script a rugby league match.
When we break down the individual performances, Newcastle just had way too much attacking firepower. You had Dane Gagai setting the tone early, Greg Marju bulldozing his way to a double on the left edge, and Fletcher Sharp using pure speed for a spectacular second-half double of his own. Now, the Titans didn't just roll over. Bo Firmer grabbed 2 tries for them, but Newcastle pounced on literally every single opportunity. Every dropped ball, every penalty the Titans handed them, the Knights just kept that scoreboard ticking over.
Moving on to Section 4, Kalen Ponga's star power.
2008. Let that sink in for a second. That massive number represents Kalen Ponga's total running meters for the 2026 season so far. It's just an unbelievable stat that truly anchors his immense value to this Knights team, putting him constantly on the front foot and just terrorizing defensive lines.
When you look at his broader resume, it is so easy to see why he's the absolute engine of the Knights offense. 158 career appearances, 60 tries, and 107 assists. His pedigree is completely undeniable. But zooming in on 2026 specifically, in just 12 appearances, he's racked up 5 tries, 37 goals, 12 try assists, 61 tackle breaks, and he averages a staggering 167 running meters per game. His ability to break tackles and create something out of absolutely nothing is exactly why Newcastle is marching so confidently towards September.
Finally, let's wrap up with Section 5, finals implications for Newcastle. Checking out the updated ladder, this win is huge. It securely locks the Knights into 6th place on 32 points. They are breathing right down the neck of the 5th-place Dolphins now. And you have to contrast that upward trajectory with the total nightmare scenario unfolding for the 16th-place Broncos. Their finals hopes are officially dead after getting humiliated 46 by the Warriors. The top end of the ladder is turning into a real pressure cooker. So, the fallout from this high-scoring shootout? Well, Newcastle is sitting pretty. They have a highly favorable run home, finishing the season with a bye. A home final in the Hunter isn't just a dream anymore, it's a very realistic possibility for them. Because teams like the Knights and the Dolphins keep winning, the top 8 is rapidly becoming a closed shop. That leaves teams like the Sea Eagles and Bulldogs incredibly desperate. And all of this is happening while Penrith and the Roosters are locked in an absolute dogfight for the minor premiership at the top of the table. Fox Sports really hit the nail on the head here when they noted, if Kalen Ponga stays fit, they're a very good chance of hosting a finals match. Ultimately, the experts agree that Newcastle's entire September destiny rests squarely on the health, form, and magic of their star fullback. Which brings us to our final takeaway. If a game that every predictive model and expert pundit pegs to be a low-scoring defensive grind can completely flip into a chaotic 62-point thriller, we really have to ask ourselves, is any team's final spot truly safe right now? The data tells a story, sure, but out on the grass, the players write the ending. Thanks for joining us for this explainer. We'll see you next time.